Hello and welcome to Lesson Plan F, the final lesson in the Destroyer Academy Excel. And this curriculum has been really fun to do and kind of go over a lot of different things, do's and don't do's, and recommendations. These are not laws. These are not, you know, stamped principles. These are just my principles, and they work for me. They've worked for a lot of other players. Hundreds of people have flooded my emails, my Facebook DMs, and whatnot, thanking me over the last year and a half for the Destroyer Academy. And the views have gone up. They've gone up 400% from the original average, especially over the last few months. And I'm really happy to see that. Obviously, there's personal goals and little like selfish goals for popularity and whatnot, but it all started with you guys and the necessity for the game to have better um, information to how to play Destroyer. You know, it's a I feel like it's a one of those things where the other ship types expect you to just play just like them, be good. And that's not the case. There's some cruisers that kind of carry your stats. There's some battleships that carry your stats, like New Jersey, AL Chapa. There's it's. I'm not saying AL Chapa is a battleship. I just mean in that regard of like cruisers and battleships. There's some ships that carry your stats that they're just so OP that um, it doesn't take a whole lot of skill to play them. And I'm not saying that there is no skill to play them. There definitely is, but it's as a destroyer player, there's not a whole lot of destroyers that can really carry your stats. You can say Vampire is OP because of its ability to do it, but you still have to get up and close. You still have to brawl. You still have to make the right decisions. There's still a lot of different things, and you can say the same thing about the Chapa and New Jersey players, you know. But when you're shooting from range like that, you have a lot less consequences. When you're up close and personal in the caps, and you got to bully the enemy team out of the certain zones, that takes more skill. That takes a lot more preparation, in my opinion. But anyways, you made it this far. I appreciate you guys. Thank you guys so much for everything, and I hope that this helps you. I put a lot of time and effort and thought into making this happen for you guys, and I've been kind of talking about it. It's like, what's the next step for the academy, and that's this. Obviously, after this, there's a final exam. It's graded, yes, but that's just a personal thing. You ain't got to share it with anybody. I hope it helps you guys really, just focus in on your goals. That's what really matters. And after this, the sky's the limit for you. Master these principles, and then make them better. And then then this is all a free thing, right? But the payment for me would be for you guys not only to spread this information around and kind of promote the channel, promote the academy, but promote these principles more than anything. Even if you don't share a video or you've never shared the video with anybody, share the values. Share the professionalism, share that compassion. Because as much as we complain about DD players like Shimakaze always getting 400 XP on a win, just understand that I have compassion for players that don't know any better. So this is what this academy is for, and also for the people that do know better and they want to, maybe listen to somebody else's perspective who's at their level. Or if you guys think that I'm beneath you slightly in a level, just listen to what I got to say. Maybe we can find some common ground, right? That's the whole point of this, is to bring people together. Anyways, lesson F, we're going to be talking about the statistical analysis and proper evaluation of your stats. We're going to go through and kind of go through the eval here. At 7,912 games, the different ratings and whatnot, my average damage was 59.5. But to put it in perspective, I remember some of my stats when I first started out. Like, I was streaming and I had up to like 4,500 games before I joined Pain. Um, in that time, I had like my average damage was like 44,000. My average XP, this was before that XP rework with the whole premium thing. My average XP was like 1,700, 16 somewhere in there, which now would have translated to like 1,300. um, something like that. I can't remember. But I played this game for fun. I didn't really play with a lot of like really really good players. They were average players. Now that I've played with some bad players and some like incredible players, they were like right somewhere in the middle. But at that time in the group that we had, between 2020 and 2022, um, we just had a lot of fun. We had a great and healthy community, and that was just a great it was a great group to be around, especially in the beginning. Kind of have make this game fun and create activities and whatnot. And around that time, I was also doing my own tournaments, so which is kind of interesting. But so for around 45% survival rate, um, average spotting, I'd spot one ship per game. So you're kind of looking at these stats and you're like, oh, they're meh, right? Um, average XP 1557. Now we move on to the next one. We had, let's say, 1300 at like 4500. Now we're at 1557 at 7900. So now we're going to the 9000 mark. And now we're looking at the difference. This is where you start seeing a difference here, right? Because it compares the most recent play. So this would be the one you clicked on, and then this would be the time before. So we went up 600 rating. We had 1100 battles in between. Our win rate went from, that 65%, or actually, what was it before? The 64% to 75%. Survival rate went up 13%. Average XP went up 200%, or excuse me, 200 points, almost 300. So you see the difference here. And my average potential damage went down, and a lot of it had to do with the fact that I played a little bit more Destroyer. So my average damage was going to go down. I didn't play really much of any Cruiser at this time. I played Destroyer. I want to get better at that. So notice that it was as May 12th, 2025. It's because I had the screenshots from before. This is when I uploaded them. This isn't like when the stats were active, if that makes sense. This is like from years and from 2021 until now, or until then. So average spotting, see how it went up that 78%? That's because I played a lot more Destroyer. And then if you look here too, 34% increase in average spotting. Again, that's Destroyer play. My average damage went up from 60,000 to 65, but I thought it was 59. There we go. So this is all time, excuse me. So now it's basically just comparing these two. So now, went up that 8%. My average, so my KD went up a little bit, but I wasn't really much of a damage dealer or killer, if that makes sense. So it went from great to super unicum, which I absolutely hate that word so much, but now you're going into the next one. Now, if you notice, my potential damage didn't really change much. My average spotting went down a little bit from 33 to 29. That's because I played a little bit more Battleship at that time. And then my average damage went up quite a bit, which obviously shows that as well. And a lot of it's affected too by the ship releases, because you'll play those ships that come out. And around this time when I had 11,000 is when I think that was around the time that Summers. No. 11,000 games. I probably had maybe Velos. I can't remember when those stats were from, but they were from a few years ago. Probably maybe late 2023. Well, so what would that be? That'd be right before Lenin, right? Or no, Lenin was 21, 22. Anyways, but whatever ship came out around that time is like what I'd play, right? My KD didn't really go up much at all, but my average XP did definitely go up quite a bit. Survival rate again kept going up. Survival rate, or excuse me, the win rate went up. It's up from the average. So you can kind of see, like, I'm learning, right? I'm learning, like, how to, where I fit in into the match. Once I found out my niche, and it didn't take me that long, but once I found my niche on where I needed to be, then I had that focus, and my stats just started skyrocketing. If you look over here, my win rate went from here to here. It went a steep, very steep incline, but about 2%, which is a lot within 2,000 games, especially where it was before. So you kind of see that nice slope that you have there statistically. So now we go up to another 1,000 games. And my potential, again, kind of stayed about the same. Still went down a little bit, less than average of the all time. But when you're looking at your stats, you're looking at your growth and your difference between what your stats were and what you've been playing at recently. So now we finally hit that 1900 mark, but we're almost at 2000 on the average XP, which is really, really good. Adding another 17% to that, and a lot of it has to do with DDs again. So this was, a little over 1,000 games ago from where I am now. So now we go over to this here, another 400 games, and now our average potential went up, and that's has to do with playing again more of the ship types that kind of go along with what I like to play. But I started to also get better with cruisers around this time and play a little bit more of that because I wanted to hit 3,000 games in cruisers. Right now I have like 5K games, over 5K games in destroyers, almost that in battleship, and then over 3,000 in cruisers. I'm starting to play those a little bit better. You'll notice my average XP went up to 2,000 now, and my average XP, or excuse me, my average kills went up to 1.3 finally. Average spotting went up from, remember, I barely had 1, and now I have 1.6. And this is just most recent there around that time. My rating went up to 3,400, when did I first hit 3,000? Yeah, after my first one. So 32, 35, 34. So you see it all green. So I'm getting better at the game. Like I'm learning more and more. And then now again, the average potential is always going to go up and down. But that's quite a bit drop because a lot of it has to do with the fact that I played a lot more destroyers recently. And if you look at anytime it's over average, the spotting damage over 30,000, it's destroyer play. I play a lot more passive now, so the average KD went down a little bit. Survival rate again still really, really good, above 60%. That's kind of where you want to be at. 70% win rate, and that's the recent play over the last 500 games in that time. And then now we go to the next one. Finally, again in the green. Only been green twice so far. 1968 for the average XP, and the average frags 1.3 per game. Average damage 75,000 damage, which right now I think this is about right. Still 1710. I think I'm actually 17, close to 1720 on the average XP all time. I think if I do another one, but I think I gotta wait another few hundred games to upload again because I've been doing it every couple hundred games or more. If you notice, like 500, 300, 1,000, 2,000, the last few have been like 500 or 400. So, but yeah, when you look at your stats again, it's don't be too harsh on them. Just know that the whole point in looking at your stats is not where you are; it's where you want to go. My overall survival rate being that 51%. it's about right. Well, it is right, obviously, because that's what the stats are. But when you look at your overall survival rate, look at your win rate, look at your average XP, and look at how much um, influence you have on the battle, that's very, very important. So I think, I mean, there's players that have a lot better stats than I do, and most of it has to do with the fact that they are in a position where they started being better at the game earlier, and that's all that really is. Um, and I'll probably never ever get to that level of stats that they got because I'd have to get rid of my first 4,500 games, which is not going to happen. So now it's just a matter of just being an actual difference maker instead of just on paper. So there's a lot of different ways to go about this. I'm going to put a link into the how-to video on how to upload this into your WoW's build so you can kind of keep track of yourself. I do have a tab on the Excel towards the end that you can also use to calculate your own stats. Hopefully you use that, and you can kind of make sure you Google Excel, and like if you have problems adjusting certain numbers or whatever, you can let me know. Otherwise, on Excel or even Microsoft, they have how-to videos on how to like change certain aspects of the charts and whatnot if you want to make the chart bigger or with more variables or whatever. I just recommend you guys to check your stats every 100 or every 500 matches, somewhere in there, because that'll help you guys at least determine the micro changes in your stats. Okay, I'm going in the right way in these next 100. Okay, so then in the next 400, I'm going to keep doing what I'm doing, and I'll check myself back in another 400 games or so. It helps you guys a lot determine, like your specific growth. Now, the other thing I want you to mention, or I want to mention, in the last video I talked about having your goals so that you can make the right corrections, right? Well, you have to like also have goals here and say, I want to hit this number. There's a calculator that will determine how many games you have to play at a certain level to get to that number. Personally speaking, I think it's just a little bit unrealistic because you just have to set yourself a goal. I don't want you to have to like really think about, okay, I gotta play like this every single game, every single game. Just make it a goal and look at your stats, and then when you come back in 400 games and re-upload your next screenshot, just take a look at where you got better and where you got worse, and then where you got worse, kind of build off of that, and then where you got better, how can I get even better? How can I increase this even further? How can I increase my average spotting damage? Which, I'll be honest, I don't want to say it's a useless spec, but you don't. When I was told that you don't really get XP for that, it's kind of a bummer. But it's still really important because it shows the influence you have on the map. So, anyways, I hope you guys enjoy this. If you guys have any questions, again, feel free to comment below. And any one of these lesson plans, comment those questions in in those sections there, or in the comment section, and I will get to them as soon as I can. And that's kind of how I want you guys to communicate with me directly. Obviously in the email as well, that'll help out quite a bit, especially if you have questions that are very particular that might not be a very simple answer. You can put that in the email, fleetoflegends101@gmail.com, or just put it in the comment section and we can have a conversation there as well. So I hope you guys enjoyed this curriculum as much as I enjoyed making it. And we will see you guys in the next Destroyer Academy highlights videos when a next line comes out. Or if you guys have questions and you guys want a specific Destroyer kind of talked about, or different builds or whatever. Obviously, I'm still taking submissions on a weekly basis for the Destroyer Academy feature. So if you have an amazing match in a Destroyer, send them over to me at fleetoflegends101@gmail.com. Or just DM me on Discord if you can. Send me a link that way. And we'll see you guys in the next videos. Take care.